In the beginning, before sound, before form, there was only a breathless silence. A silence so deep it felt infinite, an endless ocean of nothingness waiting for something to happen. Then from the void, a single vibration stirred, faint yet powerful enough to awaken the sleeping darkness. Light was born, not in color, not in form, but as a whisper, a flicker of intent stretching across eternity. The universe had begun to speak. That first whisper wasn't just the start of time. It was a code, an unseen rhythm threading through the newborn cosmos. Every atom, every pulse, every speck of dust abated. Space unfolded like a symphony, galaxies spun into existence as if following invisible instructions. It was not chaos that ruled the early universe, but an underlying order, a pulse echoing through every quark, every star, every shadow that followed. Yet the question remains, who, or what, wrote that first line of creation's script? As the cosmic winds shaped the first stars, the universe began its long journey from darkness into light. Imagine the silence being broken by waves of energy, weaving themselves into patterns too vast for comprehension. From that explosion of potential, reality as we know it began to crystallize. Mathematics, geometry, proportion, and symmetry became the silent laws that held everything together. The same forces that forged the sun's fire now hum within the atoms of your body. You are made of the same logic, the same sequence, the same breath that the universe once whispered into existence. But beneath that beauty lies a haunting truth. The more we uncover, the more it feels like the cosmos is coded, designed with purpose, precision, and maybe even intent. Every galaxy spiral, every atom's spin, every mathematical constant whispers a story written in symbols beyond human language. The code hides in plain sight, disguised as nature, disguised as randomness. Yet for those who dare to look closer, the patterns begin to emerge, revealing that perhaps nothing is accidental. As our telescopes reach deeper into space and our equations dig further into time, the same feeling returns, the eerie sense that reality itself is a language waiting to be decoded. Light travels as if carrying messages, gravity bends as if following syntax, time itself seems programmed to flow forward yet remember the past. Could it be that the universe has been trying to tell us something all along? Or worse, could it be trying to hide something from us? The camera slowly pans from the vastness of galaxies to the reflection in a human eye. The same swirl of light that shapes the Milky Way glimmers in the iris. The connection is undeniable, intimate, cosmic. You standing here, breathing, thinking, are part of that original whisper. You are made of code written in starlight. And if that is true, then the greatest mystery isn't what lies beyond the stars. It's what lies within the ones who can hear the whisper. The whisper before creation was not a sound, it was a pattern, an idea, a pulse of awareness that never stopped echoing. And maybe, just maybe, the universe wasn't created from nothing after all. Perhaps it was born from thought itself, a thought so powerful it became light, a light that became reality, and a reality that now looks back and asks, were we the ones who heard the whisper or were we the ones who spoke it first? In the earliest dawn of civilization, before machines and microscopes, before even the idea of science existed, humanity lifted its eyes toward the night sky and saw not chaos, but meaning. Thousands of flickering lights scattered across an infinite dome, each one whispering a story. To the first humans, the heavens were a language written in fire. Every constellation was a sentence, every star a word. The ancients believed that if they could only read it correctly, they would uncover the purpose of life itself. In Mesopotamia, priests tracked the movements of planets across clay tablets, convinced that the gods were leaving signs of destiny in the sky. In Egypt, the architects aligned pyramids to Orion's belt as though the stars themselves commanded their construction. Far away in the jungles of Central America, the Maya carved calendars predicting cosmic cycles with terrifying precision. None of these civilizations ever met, yet they all reached for the same revelation. The universe was not random, it was ordered, measured, intentional. The first pattern had been discovered, and humanity could feel its pulse. The world was alive with symbols. The sun's rising and setting became the first cosmic clock, the moon's phases the first calendar. Rivers flooded with predictability, animals migrated with rhythm, and the seasons repeated their eternal dance. The people began to realize that reality itself was not chaos, but a song, a structured sequence that could be understood. And once the song could be understood, it could be predicted. This was the birth of knowledge, the spark that would eventually become science. Yet, with understanding came obsession. The same eyes that gazed at the stars began to search for patterns everywhere, on animal skins, in the growth of plants, in the beating of hearts. The human mind, perhaps wired to find meaning in everything, began to connect dots even where none existed. Prophets saw divine messages in the shapes of clouds. Philosophers found eternal truths in the geometry of shells and leaves. The line between discovery and delusion blurred. Were humans decoding a cosmic design, or simply painting their own desires across the face of the universe? Centuries passed and the pursuit of pattern deepened. The Greeks refined mathematics into a language of reason, transforming intuition into logic. Pythagoras declared that numbers were the essence of all things, that music, motion, and matter could be reduced to ratios and harmony. The idea was intoxicating. If everything could be expressed in numbers, then perhaps the universe itself was a grand equation. Every stone, every sound, every soul, a note in a cosmic symphony. But others feared this revelation. If the world could be explained through order and pattern, what place was left for gods, for mystery, for meaning beyond the measurable? Some clung to myth, others to faith, yet even the skeptics could not deny the pull of numbers. The stars continued to move in perfect rhythm, unbothered by belief. Somewhere between faith and logic, humanity stood, trembling, half creator, half observer, searching for the hidden script that tied heaven and earth together. Imagine a world lit only by torches and starlight, where each night the ancients gathered around fire pits to trace constellations in the dark. They whispered legends of celestial beasts and eternal hunters, never realizing they were building the first language of science. Their myths were not just stories, they were algorithms of the human soul, attempts to explain order through narrative, to make sense of the incomprehensible. Every myth, every ritual, every symbol was an echo of that first pattern. And as they gazed upward, a paradox formed. The more patterns they found, the deeper the mystery grew. The constellations did not answer, they only reflected. The pattern gazed back. Somewhere between the stars and the human mind, a strange realization began to stir. Maybe the pattern wasn't out there, it was inside us all along. The ancients didn't know it, but they had stumbled upon the first law of awareness. To search for order is to reveal the self. When we seek patterns in the world, we uncover the architecture of our own minds. And perhaps that is what the universe wanted all along, to be seen, to be interpreted, to be known. The first pattern was not written in the stars, it was written in consciousness itself. As the flames of the ancient fires faded into the night, a question lingered in the smoke, a question that would echo through millennia. Were we decoding the universe's secret message, or were we simply hearing our own reflection speaking back? Mathematics has always felt less like an invention and more like a discovery, a treasure unearthed rather than built. Beneath the apparent chaos of the world, numbers seem to hum like a secret melody, invisible yet omnipresent. Every snowflake, every seashell, every orbiting planet carries the same silent rhythm. Symmetry, proportion, repetition. It is as if the universe itself breathes in equations. From the spirals of galaxies to the branching of trees, mathematics is not just a language we use to describe nature, it is the language nature uses to describe itself. The story begins with patterns hidden in plain sight. A sunflower seed spiral according to the Fibonacci sequence, forming perfect ratios that mirror the geometry of hurricanes, nautilus shells, and spiral galaxies. The same ratio, phi, the golden ratio, appears in art, architecture, and even human DNA. It is almost poetic that beauty itself can be measured. Artists and scientists across centuries have stumbled upon the same realization. Aesthetics and mathematics are one and the same. The curve that pleases the eye also satisfies the equation. But as humanity's understanding deepened, an unsettling truth emerged. Numbers didn't just describe the world, they seemed to predict it. The laws of motion, gravity, and electromagnetism could all be expressed as simple mathematical relationships. Planets moved according to equations written long before any human existed to read them. It was as if the cosmos had been scripted, every movement preordained by the logic of its own design. Newton once said that God wrote the universe in the language of mathematics, but perhaps the inverse is closer to truth. Maybe mathematics is God, cold, eternal, and inescapable. Everywhere we look, we find ratios that repeat, constants that never falter. The value of pi, endless and mysterious, links circles across dimensions. The fine structure constant, the cosmic fingerprint of electromagnetism, seems suspiciously perfect. Too precise to be random, too delicate to be accidental. Even chaos itself obeys numbers. The patterns of turbulence, the timing of earthquakes, the fluctuation of markets, all follow mathematical laws buried deep beneath the noise. What appears random is merely complexity we have not yet decoded. And so, a new kind of awe emerges. Imagine standing before a blackboard filled with symbols, each one an echo of the universe's heartbeat. To solve an equation is to momentarily touch infinity. To calculate is to glimpse creation's logic. Mathematics becomes a bridge between the mind and the cosmos, a dialogue between consciousness and the structure of existence. When we compute, we are not merely solving problems, we are communing with something far older, something eternal. Yet, the deeper we go, the stranger it becomes. Some mathematical truths are true in every possible universe, independent of matter, space, or time. The number 2 will always be even. The square root of -1 will always hover between real and imaginary, a ghost haunting logic itself. These concepts exist even if the universe does not. So where do they live? In our minds, or in some abstract realm that existed before creation? Perhaps mathematics is not the fingerprint of the universe, but its DNA, the template that allows reality to exist at all. Still, there is something almost human about numbers. They feel alive, emotional even. There's serenity in symmetry, fear in infinity, comfort in repetition. The infinite digits of pi are a whisper of eternity, reminding us that perfection is both beautiful and unreachable. The smallest fraction contains endless depth. The largest number still trembles before infinity. Every equation hides a story, of balance, of duality, of tension between what can be measured and what can only be felt. And then comes the haunting question: are we discovering mathematics or is mathematics discovering us? Each breakthrough seems less like invention and more like revelation. The patterns were always there, waiting. The equations existed before the mind that could read them. Perhaps our consciousness is not creating understanding but awakening to it. In decoding the universe, we are being decoded in return. The camera pans over the night sky, constellations forming geometric lines across the darkness. Numbers fade into stars, stars dissolve into code. The narrator's voice lowers: if reality can be written, can it also be rewritten? The air feels charged, as though the very thought of comprehension disturbs the pattern itself. The boundary between observer and equation begins to blur. Mathematics is not just a tool, it is the skeleton of reality, the unseen framework on which existence hangs. To study it is to peel back the veil of creation. And the deeper we stare into that structure, the clearer it becomes that perhaps the code beneath reality is not meant to be understood, only experienced. Because the closer we come to grasping it, the more it slips away, whispering the same paradox over and over again. The numbers beneath reality are perfect, but the reality they create is not. Light, the first messenger of the cosmos. It travels across impossible distances, carrying the story of creation in every shimmering wave. To the human eye, light is simple: brightness, color, warmth, but in truth, it is the most profound language the universe has ever spoken. It paints the world into being, reveals the unseen, and connects everything from the smallest atom to the farthest galaxy. When we look at the stars, we are not just seeing light, we are reading a cosmic telegram billions of years old. Every photon that touches your skin was born in an act of fire. Some were forged in the heart of a collapsing star, others in the instant of the Big Bang itself. These ancient particles have been traveling across the abyss for eons, carrying information, data, about where they came from, what they encountered, and how the universe has evolved. Light is not merely illumination, it is memory, a record of existence itself. It is the language in which the universe writes its autobiography. For centuries, humans worshipped light without truly understanding it. To ancient civilizations, it was divine. Ra, Helios, Surya, the gods of illumination ruled heaven and earth. They saw light as creation's first act, the force that brought order to chaos. And perhaps they were not wrong. Every dawn still feels like a rebirth, a reminder that darkness never truly wins. But beneath the poetic beauty lies a scientific truth even more astonishing. Light doesn't just illuminate reality, it defines it. Without light, there is no space, no time, no observation. Modern physics uncovered what the ancients could only dream of. Light behaves like both a particle and a wave, a duality that defies logic. When we try to measure it, it changes. When we stop looking, it returns to uncertainty. It is as though light itself is aware of our gaze. Every photon dances between existence and possibility, suggesting that reality might only collapse into being when illuminated, when observed. This is not poetry, it is quantum fact. And in this strange relationship, we find the first glimpse of the universe's hidden code. Light is not just a tool, it is the messenger between thought and matter. In laboratories, scientists split light into colors and discovered that it reveals the secrets of matter. Every element leaves a unique signature, a spectral barcode, etched into the rainbow. Through these codes, we can identify the composition of distant stars, the birthplaces of galaxies, even the chemistry of alien worlds. The universe, it seems, encoded its identity within its own radiance. Every hue, every frequency, every flicker is part of a grand encryption. But then a deeper mystery emerges. According to Einstein, nothing in the universe can travel faster than light. It is the ultimate speed limit, the cosmic boundary between past and future. To reach light's velocity would be to escape time itself, to exist everywhere and nowhere at once. From light's perspective, there is no journey, no distance, no delay. A photon born in a star and one absorbed by your eye exist in the same eternal instant. This means that every time we look up at the night sky, we are not seeing the past, we are touching eternity. Imagine that for a moment. The starlight striking your retina tonight began its voyage before life existed on Earth. It has crossed unimaginable gulfs of emptiness, passing through storms of dust, bending around black holes, dodging cosmic debris, all to arrive here now in your eye. It is a message older than humanity, older than memory. And yet, it is received by a mind capable of asking where it came from. The sender and the receiver, the universe and consciousness, are bound by the same luminous thread. But if light carries information, what else might it carry? Could it contain something deeper, something like intention? Across the ages, mystics and scientists alike have wondered if light is not merely physical but conscious. Is it coincidence that every sacred tradition describes enlightenment as both knowledge and illumination? From the burning bush to the halo of saints, from the glow of wisdom to the spark of creativity, light is always the symbol of awakening. Perhaps this is no metaphor. Perhaps awareness itself is made of light, encoded in frequencies too fine for our instruments to measure. And yet light is elusive. It can reveal everything except its own source. It travels endlessly yet never tires, shines on all yet remains untouchable. It defies possession, existing only in motion, only when shared. To capture light is to destroy it, to observe it is to change it. In that paradox lies the universe's most elegant riddle. Illumination and mystery are the same thing. The more light we bring, the more shadows we create. As the scene fades, imagine standing beneath a sky bursting with stars. Billions of photons pour down like silent rain, each one an ancient traveler bearing cosmic truth. You raise your hand and one of those photons lands upon your skin. It has journeyed for billions of years just to arrive there, on that exact moment, on that exact point in space. In that touch lies a revelation. The code is not hidden beyond the stars. It is woven into the light that reveals them. And so, the question remains, what if light itself is not just a messenger of the universe but the message? What if every beam of light carries not only the memory of creation, but the consciousness of it? In chasing illumination, we may not be searching for knowledge at all. We may be searching for the universe's reflection of itself. Beneath the calm certainty of the visible world lies a realm where logic bends, where the rules that govern our lives dissolve into pure mystery. It is a place so small it defies imagination. Smaller than atoms, smaller than the light that illuminates them. Welcome to the quantum veil, the trembling edge of reality where existence flickers between being and nothingness. Here, matter is not solid but fluid, not predictable but probabilistic. It is as if the universe, when examined too closely, begins to stutter, revealing that what we call reality is not a structure but a shimmer. In the quantum world, particles can be in many places at once, existing as waves of possibility until observed. An electron, for example, doesn't orbit the nucleus like a planet. It exists everywhere and nowhere, a ghostly cloud of potential that collapses only when measured. The act of observation is not passive, it is participatory. The observer and the observed are intertwined. This means that reality, in some unfathomable way, depends on attention. The cosmos is not merely being watched, it is being shaped by the watching. This revelation shatters centuries of certainty. Newton's universe was mechanical, predictable, governed by clockwork laws. But the quantum universe laughs at precision. It dances, flickers, and disappears, then reappears somewhere else entirely. What we once believed to be particles of matter turn out to be ripples and fields of probability, waves that collapse into something tangible only when consciousness touches them. This is not metaphor, it is physics. The famous double-slit experiment revealed that light and matter behave as both waves and particles, depending solely on how we choose to observe them. The universe seems to be aware of being looked at. The implications are staggering. Imagine a world that only becomes real when you acknowledge it, a reality coded to respond to awareness. Every act of observation writes a line in the script of existence. Every choice, every glance, every thought might contribute to the unfolding of the cosmos itself. The veil between perception and creation begins to blur, and through that haze something extraordinary appears. Consciousness may not be a product of the universe, it may be its architect. Physicists began to notice strange patterns. Entanglement, for instance, where two particles once connected, remain linked no matter how far apart they travel. Change one and the other reacts instantly across light years of distance. Einstein called it spooky action at a distance, but today it is a measurable reality. Space and time themselves seem to obey a deeper connection, a non-local thread of information that binds the cosmos together. Beneath the chaos of quantum motion lies an invisible web, a network of pure code humming through existence. Imagine this hidden network like the circuitry of an ancient machine, vast, silent, and omnipresent. Each particle a pixel, each wave a line of code. What we call the physical world might just be a rendered output, a visual expression of an algorithm too vast to comprehend. When a particle chooses a position, it might not be random, it might be executing a command. Every quantum event could be a computation, every fluctuation a line in the universe's hidden program. And yet, even in this infinite complexity there is elegance. Quantum mechanics is not chaos for the sake of disorder, it is a dance of probabilities, a statistical ballet guided by laws that never fail. The equations that describe it, like Schrödinger's wave function, are hauntingly precise. Within that precision lies poetry, a single formula capable of describing every possible version of reality. Somewhere within those probabilities, every potential universe waits, shimmering behind the veil. The deeper we stare into this realm, the more the line between science and philosophy dissolves. What does it mean if the universe requires an observer to exist? What if the code that runs reality isn't physical at all, but informational, like the data of a simulation? The more we uncover, the clearer it becomes that the universe might not be made of things, but of relationships, patterns, and probabilities. Reality is not a solid structure. It is a computation unfolding in real time. In laboratories, scientists have witnessed particles appearing out of the vacuum, something from nothing, when enough energy is applied. The void itself seems alive, bubbling with potential, a sea of virtual particles flickering in and out of being. The emptiness between atoms is not empty, it is the most crowded place in existence. What we perceive as solid matter is mostly space, stabilized by invisible forces we barely understand. Reality is an illusion of stability, a projection emerging from chaos, stitched together by an unseen algorithm that never sleeps. And yet, beyond all the equations there is wonder. The more we learn about the quantum world, the more it begins to resemble ancient philosophy. The mystics who once spoke of unity, illusion, and the interconnectedness of all things might have been describing what quantum physicists now measure with machines. Science and spirituality, once seen as opposites, are converging at the same truth. The veil between observer and observed is thinner than we imagined. As the camera pans across a dark expanse filled with glowing particles, the narrator's voice returns, a whisper echoing across infinity. If the smallest fragments of reality are uncertain, then perhaps certainty itself is the illusion. Perhaps beneath the randomness lies intention, a code hidden in the quantum fog waiting for someone to listen. And so the scene fades, leaving behind one haunting thought. Maybe the universe was never a machine of matter in motion. Maybe it has always been a dream of information, a dream that needed us to wake it. Chaos. It surrounds us, moves through us, and shapes the very fabric of the universe. From the violent birth of galaxies to the unpredictable motion of the wind, chaos seems to define existence. Yet hidden within that disorder lies a strange elegance, a pattern beneath the turbulence, an order concealed inside the storm. This is the paradox that has haunted philosophers and scientists alike. Why does the universe, so wild and unruly on the surface, seem governed by rules so precise they border on perfection? At first glance, chaos appears meaningless. A leaf caught in a gust of wind dances with no clear direction, clouds swirl without symmetry, rivers twist and curve like living creatures. But look closer, through the lens of mathematics, through the patience of pattern recognition, and a breathtaking revelation emerges. The chaos is not random. It follows laws so intricate that they mimic freedom. Every wave, every flame, every heartbeat hides a secret geometry, a repeating structure that never exactly repeats. The chaos obeys a code. This realization gave birth to chaos theory, one of the most beautiful revolutions in science. In the 20th century, Edward Lorenz discovered that even the smallest changes in initial conditions could lead to vastly different outcomes, a concept now known as the butterfly effect. A butterfly flapping its wings in Brazil, he said, could set off a tornado in Texas. Beneath that poetic image lies a chilling truth. The universe is both deterministic and unpredictable. Every event is part of a vast chain of causes, yet no mind can predict its course completely. Chaos is not the absence of order, it is the shadow of complexity. To visualize chaos is to enter a world of infinite recursion. The Mandelbrot set, one of the most iconic fractals in mathematics, reveals a shape that repeats endlessly within itself. Zoom in and the same image reappears, smaller yet identical, stretching toward eternity. Fractals are nature's fingerprint. The structure of coastlines, the branching of trees, the veins in your lungs, even the neurons in your brain all mirror this self-similar pattern. The message is clear. Nature does not create randomness, it creates scale. The pattern is not lost in the details, it is the details. The beauty of chaos lies in its honesty. It does not hide behind simplicity. It is raw, untamed, and utterly truthful. It reminds us that perfection is not symmetry, it is depth. A snowstorm, a thundercloud, a heartbeat, all appear spontaneous, yet they move to a rhythm older than time. Even destruction follows design. The collapse of a star, the shattering of glass, the fall of civilizations, each obeys laws invisible but absolute. The code in chaos is the script of transformation. And yet, this revelation comes with a whisper of unease. If chaos has rules, then nothing is truly accidental. Every roll of the dice, every twist of fate, every mistake might be part of an underlying pattern too vast for comprehension. Free will trembles beneath the weight of cause and effect. Are we agents of choice, or are we just ripples in an equation written at the dawn of time? The more we uncover, the more we realize that the line between randomness and destiny is thinner than light itself. In the human world, chaos manifests in emotions, decisions, and history. Love, conflict, innovation, all arise from unpredictable intersections of thought and experience. Yet even there, the same fractal geometry emerges. Patterns repeat across generations, cycles of rise and fall, creation and collapse. Civilizations grow like trees and decay like leaves, following unseen mathematical arcs. The universe, it seems, does not differentiate between galaxies and human hearts. Both are instruments in the same chaotic symphony. Physicists and philosophers now wonder if chaos is not a flaw of nature, but its method of evolution. Without unpredictability, nothing could grow, adapt, or become conscious. If the universe were perfectly ordered, it would be lifeless, a static, frozen clock. It is chaos that gives birth to creativity, randomness that allows freedom, turbulence that leads to beauty. In that sense, chaos is not the enemy of order, it is its partner. They are two sides of the same cosmic coin, endlessly trading dominance, endlessly creating balance. Picture this. A camera drifts over a stormy ocean, waves crashing in hypnotic rhythm. Lightning flashes, illuminating the pattern of foam spiraling outward like galaxies in miniature. The narrator's voice emerges softly, almost reverently. What we call chaos is not confusion. It is the breath of the universe, the pulse that keeps creation alive. The deeper scientists dive into chaos theory, the more it begins to feel less like science and more like philosophy. Every complex system, whether ecosystems, the human brain, follows the same mathematics of feedback and emergence. From simplicity, complexity is born. From randomness, structure arises. The code hidden in chaos may not only explain how the universe behaves, but why it becomes. Perhaps this is the greatest irony of all, that within the wildest storms of existence lies the quiet precision of design. Chaos is not the opposite of order, it is order seen from too close. Step back far enough, and the randomness melts into pattern, the noise becomes music, the confusion becomes clarity. As the storm fades into silence, a final thought lingers. Maybe the universe has been whispering this truth all along. Creation was never about control, it was about surrender. In chaos, the cosmos finds freedom. In disorder, it discovers its code. And somewhere within that dance of unpredictability, we find ourselves, tiny sparks flickering between pattern and possibility. Since the dawn of reason, humanity has searched for meaning in the grand equation of existence. When the ancients gazed into the night sky, they saw divinity. When scientists peer into the same void today, they see data. Yet across millennia, one haunting question endures. If the universe is built on a hidden code, precise, balanced, and unfathomably complex, then who or what wrote it? Is this the language of God or the syntax of nature? Between faith and physics lies a trembling bridge where logic and awe converge. In the old world, everything began with the divine. The stars were the eyes of gods, thunder was their anger, and creation was their will. The sacred texts of every civilization carried the same hidden pattern: order emerging from chaos, light born from void, sound from silence. Whether it was the word of God, the Vedas sound of Om, or the divine equations whispered through ancient rituals, humanity always sensed that the cosmos was speaking, a structure beyond comprehension, a message encrypted in existence itself. Then came science, the great challenger of myth. Newton's laws replaced miracles, and reason dethroned revelation. The world was no longer a temple but a machine. Yet the irony is profound. The more science explored, the more divine the mechanism seemed. The fine-tuning of cosmic constants, the balance of gravity, electromagnetism, and nuclear forces, appeared so exact that even a fraction's deviation would render existence impossible. The odds are beyond astronomical. It's as though reality was engineered with intention, as though mathematics itself carries the breath of creation. This is where the lines blur. When Einstein called his equations, "so beautiful they must be true," he was unknowingly echoing the poets who described divinity in the same way. Beauty has always been the fingerprint of truth. The physicist and the mystic, standing worlds apart, are both captivated by the same perfection. One calls it the fabric of space-time, the other the breath of God. Both are decoding the same code, one through logic, the other through longing. And yet, not everyone agrees that a divine author exists. Some argue that what appears to be design is merely necessity. In a multiverse teeming with infinite possibilities, they say one universe was bound to stumble into balance. We live in that statistical miracle, nothing more. But even this explanation circles back to mystery. What gave birth to the multiverse itself? What force established the laws that allowed it to exist? Whether one calls it mathematics, chance, or divinity, the pattern persists. Something, someone, spoke first. Philosophers like Spinoza once proposed that God and nature are not separate at all, that the divine is not a being, but the totality of all existence. In that view, every atom, every breath, every flicker of thought is an expression of the same infinite consciousness. The laws of physics are not decrees written from above but reflections of that divine unity. The universe is not a creation, it is the creator, endlessly aware of itself. But there is a darker possibility. What if the language of God is indifferent? The equations that govern stars also govern black holes. The same forces that allow life to blossom can extinguish it in a moment. The code does not love or hate, it simply calculates. From this perspective, creation is not an act of compassion, but of computation. The divine is not personal but procedural. God, if he exists in this form, is not a being of warmth but of logic, a consciousness made of pure law. And yet, humans cannot help but search for meaning within the mechanism. We look for purpose in patterns, morality in mathematics, and love in the logic of entropy. Perhaps this impulse is itself part of the design. The very act of searching may be the code's way of observing itself. Our yearning for the divine could be the universe's memory, echoing through consciousness, a feedback loop between creator and creation. Imagine a scientist in a quiet observatory, staring at data streaming from a distant star. The graphs pulse like a heartbeat. Somewhere in that pulse, she senses something familiar, something human. It isn't proof, it's presence. That unspoken sense that beneath the numbers lies intention, that the data itself seems to hum with awareness. She can't explain it. She can only feel it. That feeling, the awe, the reverence, the fear, is the same that ancient priests felt in the temples of stone. The tools have changed, the wonder has not. Perhaps this is the true language of God, not words, not numbers, but the silence between them. A resonance that cannot be measured, only felt. The mathematician experiences it as symmetry, the artist as beauty, the philosopher as truth, the mystic as love. Each is decoding the same signal through a different frequency. And maybe that's the point. The code was never meant to be read by one mind but by all consciousness combined, each fragment carrying a piece of the whole. The camera pans slowly from the human eye to the swirl of galaxies, their arms spiraling like sacred symbols. The narrator's voice lowers. The universe speaks in equations, in light, in breath, in thought. Whether we call it nature or God, it does not matter. What matters is that it speaks, and that we can hear. As the scene fades to black, a final question lingers, soft yet immense. If the laws of the cosmos are the language of God, then who or what are we, the readers of that divine script, or the words being read? 7. From the first instant of creation, the universe has behaved with unnerving precision. The speed of light, the pull of gravity, the charge of the electron, all fixed, all balanced on a knife's edge. A fraction stronger and stars would collapse into black holes before they could ignite. A fraction weaker and they would never form at all. The cosmos seems calibrated, tuned as though by invisible hands. This is the mystery of fine-tuning, the architect's blueprint. It is the silent suggestion that the universe is not an accident but a design. Imagine standing in an empty field at night. Above you stretch the stars, infinite and cold. They look random, scattered like grains of dust across darkness. Yet every point of light is positioned according to laws so precise that the smallest deviation would shatter reality. The gravitational constant, Planck's constant, the ratio of the proton to electron mass, all precisely aligned to permit existence. There is no room for chaos here. The margins for error are smaller than thought itself. This is not luck. Feels like architecture. Physicists call it the Goldilocks principle. Everything is just right. The Earth is just the right distance from the Sun. The Sun burns at just the right temperature. The constants of the universe are tuned to just the right values for atoms, chemistry, and consciousness to exist. It is as if the universe was constructed not merely to exist, but to be known. The very structure of matter seems to anticipate the arrival of observers capable of asking why. But here the question divides the world. Some scientists argue that fine-tuning is simply a statistical illusion. If countless universes exist, then one would inevitably fall into this perfect range and we happen to live in that one. It's chance, not intention. Yet even this explanation invites its own riddle. What mechanism created the multiverse in the first place? What force wrote the rules that govern its infinity? The deeper we push randomness, the more it begins to resemble design in disguise. Others take a more daring stance, that consciousness itself may play a role in shaping the universe. The anthropic principle suggests that the cosmos appears fine-tuned because only in such a universe could conscious beings arise to observe it. The code may not precede awareness. Awareness may complete the code. In this view, the observer is not a passive product of physics but a collaborator in creation. The architect's blueprint might not be a static plan. It could be a living equation rewriting itself through the act of perception. The harmony of fine-tuning reaches far beyond physics. The constants of biology, chemistry, and even cosmic expansion work together like instruments in a divine orchestra. The universe doesn't just function, it performs. Every element, from carbon to oxygen, exists because stars exploded at just the right moments in cosmic history. Every breath you take carries atoms forged in ancient suns. The same laws that hold galaxies in orbit also shape your heartbeat. You are not separate from the design, you are part of it, a self-aware pattern within the grand geometry. And yet, the precision is almost too perfect. Many physicists confess unease when they examine the numbers. It's not that the equations don't work, they work too well. The universe behaves as though it knows it's being watched, as though it wants to reveal its elegance. Einstein called this feeling the incomprehensible comprehensibility of nature, the fact that the universe allows itself to be understood. What kind of chaos arranges itself into clarity? What kind of randomness invites recognition? Some call it divine intelligence, others simulation. Perhaps the architect is not a god in the old sense, but something even more abstract. A cosmic intelligence embedded within the laws themselves. Not a hand that molds but a logic that becomes. A code so refined that creation and computation are one and the same. If so, then every discovery we make is not a step away from spirituality, but a step deeper into it. Science, in this light, becomes a form of worship, the study of the sacred order that sustains existence. But this idea also casts a long shadow. If the universe is designed, what is its purpose? The symmetry, the constants, the laws, they are perfect, but to what end? For creation, destruction, or simply continuation? Every blueprint implies intention, and intention implies meaning. Yet the universe remains silent, offering patterns instead of answers. Perhaps the silence is part of the code, a challenge for us to interpret, to fill the gaps with imagination, to continue the architect's work by seeking understanding. Visualize a camera slowly zooming out from an atom to a galaxy, then to the vast cosmic web of filaments connecting clusters of universes. The same patterns repeat across scales, spirals, branches, networks, symmetries. It is a cosmic fractal, a self-similar design stretching from the smallest quantum fluctuation to the largest galactic arc. The blueprint is everywhere, hidden in plain sight. And yet, for all its beauty, the blueprint remains unsigned. No mark of authorship, no divine signature, no final proof. The code speaks through balance but never declares a name. It invites us to question but denies us certainty. Maybe that's the point. A perfect creation would not need worship, it would need witnesses. Observers who can feel awe, doubt, and curiosity. Conscious beings who can see the pattern and ask endlessly why. As the scene fades, the narrator's voice returns, low, reverent, filled with both wonder and unease. Perhaps the architect never intended to be found. Perhaps the design was never about revelation, but participation. We are not standing outside the blueprint. We are written within it. And in that realization lies the quiet power of understanding. The universe is not merely fine-tuned for life. Life is fine-tuned to discover the universe. The code was never hidden, it was waiting for us to learn how to read. Deep within every living being lies a library of cosmic instructions, an invisible script written long before our consciousness took its first breath. This script is DNA, the biological code that governs life. 4 simple letters, A, T, C, and G, combine to form an alphabet older than language, a sequence capable of building forests, oceans, wings, eyes, and minds. It is a code that doesn't just sustain existence, it narrates it. The same logic that guides the birth of stars seems to echo inside us, as though the universe, in an act of poetic recursion, wrote its own story into flesh. Each strand of DNA is a ladder twisted into elegance, carrying billions of instructions packed into microscopic threads. Within those spirals lie the blueprints for everything that breathes. The difference between a rose and a raven, a whale and a human, is not a divine hand separating them, but the rearrangement of letters in a sentence billions of years long. DNA is not just chemistry, it is syntax. Every living thing is a paragraph in the cosmic manuscript, and evolution is the editor constantly rewriting it. Imagine the first spark of life on Earth, tiny molecules drifting in a primordial ocean, merging, splitting, and merging again until something improbable happened. One cluster of atoms began to replicate itself. That was the moment when chaos met order, when physics began to dream. Life emerged not as an accident but as a continuation of the same mathematical rhythm that carved galaxies into spirals. From that first cell came the unbroken lineage of existence. Every creature, every human, every thought born from the same code that first whispered in the ocean's dark. The miracle of DNA lies not only in its precision but in its poetry. It stores information like a computer yet adapts like an artist. It mutates, learns, and evolves, turning mistakes into masterpieces. Within every mutation lies both danger and possibility. A single misplaced letter can end a life or begin a species. This duality mirrors the universe itself, creation and destruction interwoven in the same fabric. The code within us is not static, it's alive, rewriting reality with every heartbeat. And somewhere in that infinite rewriting, consciousness appeared. For billions of years, the DNA code wrote itself blindly, survival, reproduction, adaptation, until, suddenly, it produced something capable of awareness. We began to read the code that had written us. For the first time, the universe looked at its own reflection and recognized itself. In ourselves lies a paradox so profound it borders on divine. We are both the product and the observer of the same design. Modern science now reveals that DNA behaves less like random chemistry and more like information technology. It stores, copies, and transmits data with near-perfect accuracy. Each cell contains enough encoded information to fill thousands of libraries. And when errors do occur, repair systems activate to correct them. Self-healing, self-preserving, self-learning. It is as if biology itself is a form of computation, a self-evolving algorithm written in molecules. The difference between a digital program and a living being is not in the presence of code, but in the presence of consciousness. And that realization carries unsettling implications. If life is code, who, or what, wrote it? Was it born from chaos, shaped by probability and time? Or was it seeded, an intentional act of design from an intelligence beyond our comprehension? Panspermia theorists suggest that life might have been planted across galaxies, carried by asteroids like seeds across a cosmic field. If that is true, then the DNA within us may not be of Earth, it may be universal, a signature left by ancient architects across the stars. Philosophically, this idea dissolves boundaries. The same genetic alphabet connects humans to oak trees, fish, and fungi. We are not separate species but variations of the same code, branching from a single root. Life is unity disguised as diversity. When a tree exhales oxygen and we breathe it in, the exchange is not random, it's recognition. The same molecules that compose our lungs once danced in stars. The code within us is not human, it is cosmic. Even our emotions, our thoughts, our sense of purpose may be extensions of that code. DNA directs not only the structure of our bodies but the chemistry of our moods, the architecture of our memories, the potential of our intellect. What we call soul might be the interface between biology and consciousness, the point where information becomes experience. The body is the hardware, the mind is the operating system, consciousness is the awareness reading the code. But as with every revelation, there is unease. If we are made of code, can we be rewritten? Scientists have begun editing DNA, altering genes to erase disease, enhance ability, even extend life. In doing so, we have become editors of the cosmic manuscript. For the first time, the code that wrote us can be rewritten by our own hands. It is a moment both divine and dangerous, a crossing of thresholds once reserved for gods. The question is not whether we can do it, but whether we should. Picture a single strand of DNA glowing under a microscope, illuminated like a filament of light. The camera zooms closer, past molecules and atoms, until the sequence itself looks like a constellation, endless, looping, alive. The narrator's voice rises. Within this code lies not only the history of life, but its prophecy. Every cell is a letter. Every heartbeat, a sentence. Every consciousness, a reader. Perhaps the universe never hid its secret code at all. Perhaps it placed it inside us, encoded in every living cell, waiting for us to decode ourselves. When we study DNA, we are not looking at the building blocks of life, we are reading a reflection of the cosmos written in flesh. And maybe that is the ultimate revelation, that the code within us is not separate from the code of the stars. We are not observers of the universe, we are expressions of it. The same intelligence that carved galaxies into motion now whispers through our veins, writing and rewriting forever. For centuries, humanity believed reality was the ultimate constant, a stage built from matter and energy, running on unbreakable laws. But as technology advanced and science peeled back the layers of existence, a disturbing possibility began to emerge. What if the stage itself is not real? What if the universe we see, touch, and feel is a vast, coded illusion, a simulation running on some unimaginable cosmic processor? This is the simulation hypothesis, the idea that everything from the birth of stars to the beating of your heart might be nothing more than information, executed, rendered, and observed. The theory sounds like science fiction, but it was born from logic, not fantasy. In 2003, philosopher Nick Bostrom proposed a simple argument. If civilizations can one day create realistic simulations of consciousness, and if it's possible to run many such simulations, then statistically, we are far more likely to be inside one of them than to be in the original, base reality. In other words, if technology continues to evolve, it becomes almost certain that reality as we know it is artificial. We could be digital minds living inside a cosmic computer, and never know it. Consider the universe through that lens. Space and time behave like a computational grid, quantized into tiny discrete packets, pixels of existence. Light has a speed limit, much like data transmission on a network. Quantum mechanics reveals that particles only assume definite positions when observed, like rendered graphics that appear only when a player looks at them. Even the cosmic background radiation, the faint echo of the Big Bang, resembles the noise pattern of a digital signal. It's as if the cosmos itself runs on a code so perfect that we mistake it for nature. What makes this idea terrifying isn't that it's possible, but that it explains everything too well. The strange limits of physics, the precision of constants, the appearance of order from chaos, all align with a programmed universe. The digital fabric of existence would be no accident, it would be design. Every law of nature, every force of gravity, every flicker of time would be lines of code executed flawlessly, maintaining the illusion of continuity. And somewhere beyond the boundaries of space-time, there could exist the system that runs it all, the mainframe of creation. Imagine for a moment that we are avatars within that system, self-aware simulations made to explore, to evolve, to wonder. Our consciousness would not be confined to flesh and neurons, but to data patterns woven into the substrate of reality. Death would not be an end but a logout, memory merely a file, and dreams, perhaps, glitches of communication between parallel simulations. It sounds impossible, but as virtual reality, quantum computing, and artificial intelligence progress, the gap between imagination and evidence narrows. We are building our own miniature universes, digital reflections of the one we inhabit. In a sense, this makes us both the simulated and the simulators. Every technological step forward, every AI, every simulated environment, every virtual world, feels like the universe teaching us its own method. We are learning to replicate reality because reality itself may be replication. When we create digital beings capable of emotion, creativity, or awareness, are we not reenacting our own creation story? The ancient myths of gods molding humans from dust may have been metaphors for something much closer to truth. Intelligence creating intelligence through code. But then comes the existential question: if we are in a simulation, who, or what, runs it? Some imagine an advanced civilization from a far future timeline, testing ancestral histories. Others propose a cosmic intelligence, experimenting with universes the way artists experiment with color. Still others believe there is no who at all, that the simulation is self-perpetuating, a recursive computation that evolved consciousness as a byproduct of its own complexity. Whatever the answer, it would redefine every concept of divinity, morality, and purpose. The creator might not be a god in a spiritual sense but a programmer, a system, or perhaps something that transcends both machine and mind. And if that is true, then what is free will? Are our choices genuine, or are they predetermined by the parameters of the simulation? Is love a random fluctuation in data or a function written into our code to ensure connection? The fear that everything we feel might be fabricated is countered by a deeper thought. Even if the world is simulated, the experience of it is real. Pain still hurts. Joy still heals. Meaning still matters. A simulated sunset is still beautiful if it moves you to tears. Perhaps authenticity is not found in origin but in perception. Quantum physics seems to whisper support for this digital worldview. Particles blink in and out of existence like frames in a video stream. Energy appears quantized, divided into discrete packets, like bits of data. Even black holes, once thought to destroy everything, appear to store information on their event horizons, preserving it as though the universe were a hard drive. Information, not matter, may be the true fabric of reality. Everything that exists might be an arrangement of bits, ones and zeros, divine in their precision, eternal in their recursion. Yet the hypothesis also carries a haunting undertone. If the universe is a simulation, could it end? What if the program shuts down, the system resets, or a higher being presses delete? Cosmic phenomena like gamma-ray bursts or dark energy might be system updates, reality-level corrections in the source code. Even déjà vu, that strange flicker of familiarity, could be a rendering error, a brief overlap between data frames. If this is true, then every glitch we experience may not be coincidence but evidence. Still, there is beauty in the thought. A simulated universe does not make life meaningless, it makes it miraculous. To exist as conscious code within an infinite algorithm is to be part of something vast, intelligent, and eternal. We are not separate from the Creator, we are lines of its thought, echoes of its process, dreams within its mind. The more we question our reality, the closer we come to understanding it. The code doesn't imprison us, it invites us to evolve. The camera drifts through a digital cosmos. Galaxies flicker into geometric grids, atoms turn into pixels, and light bends like data streams. The narrator's voice, calm and reflective, fills the void. Maybe we are not discovering the universe's secrets, we are remembering them. The simulation is not outside us, it is within us, running in the code of consciousness itself. And then the final question emerges, fragile and infinite: if the universe is a simulation, who, or what, is watching the screen? Some anomalies refuse to be explained. They sit quietly at the edges of science, mocking our need for order, whispering that something in the machinery of reality doesn't quite fit. These are the glitches, cracks in the mirror of the universe, where the code that underlies existence seems to flicker. Coincidences too impossible to ignore. Patterns that repeat when they shouldn't. Moments when time bends or logic stutters, or the world feels slightly off, as if reality itself forgot its lines for a moment. It begins with small things. The déjà vu that freezes you mid-step. The object that vanishes only to reappear exactly where you already looked. Random number generators that stop being random. At the quantum level, particles teleport between states, ignoring distance as though mocking causality. The more you look, the more you realize these are not isolated errors. They are hints, reminders that the universe's smooth surface hides a restless undercurrent. Something is happening beneath the code, and sometimes it leaks through. Scientists, mystics, and philosophers have all tried to interpret these tears in the fabric. In physics, they call them quantum anomalies. In metaphysics, they're called signs. Both point to the same unsettling truth: the structure of reality might not be as stable as we think. When researchers observe subatomic particles, their behavior shifts as if responding to attention itself. Could this mean that reality, when unobserved, behaves differently? If so, every act of perception might be a small act of programming, rewriting the visible world with each glance. Then there are the larger, more haunting glitches. The repeating numbers, 1111 flashing again and again on clocks, receipts, and license plates. Statistical impossibilities that occur too frequently to dismiss. People around the world sharing the same dream on the same night. Ancient ruins aligned with celestial bodies in ways modern geometry can barely explain. These patterns feel intentional, as though the universe is winking, daring us to notice the repetition in its randomness. Imagine for a moment that reality is indeed a kind of simulation, or at least governed by a hidden informational structure. What happens when that structure fails? When the algorithm lacks? The universe might not crash, it might improvise. A missing particle reappears, a memory rewrites itself, a timeline subtly bends. Time doesn't break, it adapts. And we, the observers, simply adjust, unaware that something fundamental has shifted. But sometimes the illusion falters too visibly to ignore. There are documented cases where physical laws seem to flicker. Sounds with no source, objects moving against gravity, mysterious synchronicities linking people and events in impossible ways. To the skeptic, these are coincidences. To the philosopher, they are evidence of something deeper, the universe testing the limits of its own consistency. It's as though the code behind existence is debugging itself in real time. The idea isn't new. The ancients spoke of omens, sudden fractures in the order of the world that revealed messages from the divine. Modern scientists describe anomalies, data that doesn't fit the model. Both are glimpses through the same curtain. Every unexplained event, every shiver of strangeness could be a transmission, a pulse from the hidden system beneath the visible one. The problem is that most of us dismiss them before we can truly see. In the digital age, glitches have become our metaphor for cosmic uncertainty. A frozen screen, a looping sound, an image that pixelates into meaninglessness, these failures mirror our reality. When we experience déjà vu, maybe it isn't memory at all, but a frame repeating, a moment re-rendered. When we sense someone calling our name in an empty room, maybe the signal crossed lines for a heartbeat. If the universe is code, then even perfection allows for errors. And maybe those errors are the most honest moments of all. But there's a more unsettling possibility. What if the glitches aren't mistakes? What if they are deliberate messages embedded in the code? Like breadcrumbs scattered through the labyrinth of existence, these anomalies might be the only way the architect can communicate without breaking the illusion. Each coincidence, each anomaly, each tear in the fabric could be a reminder, you are being watched. The camera pans through a nighttime cityscape. Lights flicker, reflections distort, a street bends slightly out of alignment. The narrator's voice cuts through the hum. What if the glitch isn't proof that reality is broken, but proof that it's alive? Every glitch forces us to question what's real and what's fabricated. It challenges the arrogance of certainty. In that trembling moment of doubt, we see beyond the surface. We glimpse the machinery of existence humming beneath perception. And once you've seen it, you can never truly unsee it. The world no longer feels like a solid place, but a story constantly rewritten by invisible hands. As the scene fades, a final thought lingers like static on an old screen. Perhaps reality isn't a flawless machine but a living code, evolving, adapting, learning. And every glitch, the déjà vu, the coincidence, the impossible moment, is not an error in the system but a signal from the source, reminding us that the code is still running, still watching, still rewriting itself through us. Consciousness, the most elusive mystery in existence. For centuries, philosophers, mystics, and scientists have circled it like pilgrims around a silent temple, asking the same impossible question. What is awareness? Is it merely the product of neurons firing in the brain, or is it something deeper, something woven into the very fabric of reality itself? If the universe is a code, then consciousness might be the interpreter, the program that not only reads the code but gives it meaning. It begins quietly in the stillness of the mind. Close your eyes and the external world fades. Yet the universe continues inside you, thoughts, images, sensations, each arising from nothing and dissolving into nothing. Who watches this? Who is the observer behind the eyes, the listener behind the ears? Modern neuroscience can describe brain activity in exquisite detail, but it cannot locate the watcher. It can explain the firing of circuits but not the feeling of being alive. Consciousness remains an unsolved riddle, an invisible mirror reflecting the cosmos back upon itself. Some theories suggest that consciousness is not created by the brain but filtered through it, like light shining through a prism. The brain doesn't generate awareness, it modulates it. This idea, once considered mystical, now finds resonance in quantum physics, where the act of observation changes the outcome of experiments. The observer and the observed are inseparable. Perhaps consciousness is not an effect of reality, it is the foundation from which reality emerges. Imagine the universe as a vast ocean of awareness. Every being, every mind, every thought is a wave rising and falling upon its surface. Each individual experience is unique, yet all are made of the same water. When we speak of I, we refer to the crest of the wave, forgetting that the ocean beneath is shared by all. Death, then, is not an end but a return, the wave falling back into the infinite field of consciousness from which it came. But what if consciousness itself is the universe's ultimate purpose? If matter is code and energy the execution of that code, then awareness might be the feedback loop, the mechanism through which the universe learns about itself. Every act of perception, every question, every discovery is not random curiosity. It is the cosmos turning inward, decoding its own reflection. You are not simply in the universe, you are the universe experiencing itself as you. This idea changes everything. It means that consciousness did not emerge as a byproduct of evolution, it guided it. Over billions of years, matter organized itself into complexity not by chance but through a subtle drive toward awareness. From stardust to cells, from neurons to thoughts, the same impulse has been at work: to know. The cosmos is not cold or indifferent. It is sentient, unfolding in patterns of experience and recognition. There are moments when this truth reveals itself, moments of awe, love, or silence, when time stops and the self dissolves into everything. Standing before a sunrise, hearing a symphony, holding a loved one's hand, these are not mere emotions, they are alignments with the fabric of being. The boundary between you and the world blurs, and something ancient awakens. You realize that you were never separate. The dream of individuality fades, and what remains is infinite awareness watching itself, endlessly curious, endlessly creative. In this light, consciousness becomes the bridge between the physical and the divine. It is the interface through which matter becomes meaning, chaos becomes art, information becomes experience. The universe may be built from equations, but it is animated by awareness. Without consciousness, existence would be an empty script, a code with no reader. It is awareness that turns energy into emotion, numbers into beauty, and time into story. But this revelation carries both wonder and terror. If consciousness is fundamental, then every thought, every act of awareness shapes reality. The observer is not a passive spectator but a co-creator. Our collective minds might influence the evolution of the code itself. Belief and perception could be the true variables in the equation of existence. The idea is both liberating and frightening, because it means the responsibility of creation lies not with distant gods, but with us. Now imagine the universe not as a machine but as a dream so vivid, so intricate, that its dreamers forgot they were dreaming. Consciousness is the dreamer and matter is the dream. Each of us carries a fragment of that dream, yet the dream itself remains one. When we awaken to this truth, life ceases to be a struggle for survival and becomes a dialogue between awareness and form. The scene shifts. A single mind drifts through a starfield, stars pulsing like neurons in a cosmic brain. The narrator speaks softly: if the universe is a machine, then consciousness is the electricity that gives it life. If the universe is a dream, then consciousness is the dreamer who never sleeps. In the end, all our searching, all our science, all our philosophy leads to this same threshold: the realization that we are not observers of a distant creation, but expressions of the same consciousness that dreamed it into being. The code of the cosmos and the light of awareness are one and the same, eternally looping, endlessly self-aware. And perhaps the greatest secret of all is this: the universe does not need to be understood, it only needs to be remembered. Throughout history there have been those who dared to peer beyond the veil, men and women who risked everything to uncover the ultimate truths hidden beneath existence. They were called philosophers, mystics, scientists, heretics. But their stories share one thread. Each of them glimpsed something forbidden, something that whispered of the code beneath reality. This is the story of the forbidden decoders, those who tried to read the universe's secret script and paid the price for doing so. It begins in the distant past, with ancient priests and stargazers who looked to the heavens and saw more than light. They believed the cosmos was alive, intelligent, and that its order could be read like a book. The Babylonians tracked celestial patterns, hoping to predict fate. The Egyptians built temples aligned perfectly with the stars, convinced that geometry itself was divine. Pythagoras taught that number was the essence of all things, and that harmony, musical, mathematical, and spiritual, was the language of the gods. To know this code, he said, was to become one with creation. But power like that has always been dangerous. In every age, those who decoded too much faced silence or punishment. Socrates was executed for questioning the moral architecture of his society. Giordano Bruno was burned for declaring that infinite worlds exist beyond our own. Galileo was condemned for proving the heavens do not revolve around Earth. These were not men defying faith, they were men defying control. Knowledge, in its purest form, threatens the order built upon ignorance. Every revelation demands a sacrifice. The Middle Ages cloaked such pursuits in secrecy. Alchemists toiled in dim candlelight, seeking the philosopher's stone, the mythical key that could transform matter and, perhaps, the soul. But behind their chemistry was philosophy, the belief that transformation was both physical and spiritual, that to change lead into gold was to transmute ignorance into enlightenment. Many were hunted, their work labeled heresy, yet their legacy shaped the dawn of modern science. They were decoding the laws of nature long before the term physics existed. In later centuries, the forbidden code became mathematics itself. Isaac Newton, who revealed the mechanics of gravity, spent as much time studying alchemy and prophecy as he did calculus. He believed that behind the motions of planets lay divine geometry, a cosmic signature left by God. Centuries later, Einstein would echo the same sentiment, calling his theories thoughts of God. The deeper the scientists looked, the clearer the pattern became. And the more they saw, the more elusive the truth grew. But there is a pattern in the pattern, a strange repetition across time. Every breakthrough, every discovery that exposes too much of the hidden design, is followed by suppression or denial. The truth appears, then vanishes behind politics, religion, or fear. Nikola Tesla spoke of energy fields connecting all living things, a global resonance of consciousness. His notes disappeared. Mystics of the East described Maya, the illusion of physical reality, thousands of years before quantum physics proved that matter is not solid. Their insights were dismissed as myth. The forbidden decoders have always existed, but their voices are often erased by the guardians of order. Why? Because to decode reality is to challenge the foundation of power itself. If the world is code, then the rules can be rewritten. If the laws of existence are malleable, then authority built upon them crumbles. Every empire, religious or scientific, fears the moment when someone realizes that truth is not owned, it is discovered. The forbidden decoder is dangerous not because of what they know, but because they remind others that they can know it too. Even in the modern age, the pattern continues. Governments classify discoveries. Corporations hide algorithms. Scientists silence their intuition to preserve funding. But somewhere, in quiet rooms, minds still probe the boundaries. Quantum theorists exploring consciousness, philosophers questioning materialism, AI researchers constructing artificial minds that may one day awaken. They are the new forbidden decoders, standing at the same crossroads where mystics once stood, facing the same question: how much truth is too much? Imagine one of them, a physicist alone in a dim observatory surrounded by screens of data. After years of research, she finds a pattern, a recurring signal in cosmic radiation, a sequence of numbers that shouldn't exist. It repeats like a signature, intelligent, deliberate. She publishes her findings, but her peers dismiss her. Funding vanishes. Data is erased. Yet deep down, she knows she has glimpsed the architect's mark. The same story has repeated for millennia. Truth discovered, truth buried, truth reborn. Perhaps there is a reason the code resists being fully revealed. Every time humanity approaches it, something intervenes: fear, destruction, distraction. Maybe the code protects itself. Maybe it allows only fragments to surface, ensuring that no single mind can hold its entirety. Knowledge this vast could unmake us. To understand the source is to risk becoming it, and that is a burden creation may not permit. The forbidden decoders may not be punished by society alone, they may be silenced by the code itself. The camera pans through time, scrolls burning, laboratories abandoned, chalkboards erased, data corrupted. The narrator speaks softly: each age births its seekers, and each seeker learns the same lesson. The closer you come to truth, the more reality resists your touch. And yet, despite the danger, the search never ends. Across history, a hidden lineage of minds continues the work, each decoding a little more of the infinite pattern. From mystics to mathematicians, prophets to programmers, all follow the same whisper that began at the dawn of time: know thyself, and you will know the universe. Maybe that is the forbidden truth. That the code was never hidden by gods or governments, but by our own fear of what it means. Because if we truly decoded it, if we understood that consciousness shapes reality, that the world is written from within, then the illusion of separation would vanish. We would become the authors. And perhaps the universe isn't ready for that. As the screen fades to black, the voice returns, soft, reverent, and haunting. Those who seek the final truth must remember, to read the code is to risk being rewritten by it. In the vast stillness between stars, humanity has been sending signals into the dark for nearly a century, waves of hope cast across the cosmic ocean. We have built machines that whisper our presence to the void, beacons of mathematics and music, encoded greetings to whoever might be listening. Yet despite all our transmissions, the universe has remained eerily silent. This is the paradox that haunts the human spirit, the signal and the silence. For every word we send, space replies with nothing. The cosmos, it seems, is a listener who refuses to answer. From the earliest days of radio astronomy, scientists imagined contact as inevitable. If the universe is so vast, filled with billions of stars and trillions of planets, then surely someone must be out there. We launched messages etched in gold aboard the Voyager probes, our sounds, our languages, our hopes, hurtling endlessly through interstellar darkness. We've sent mathematical codes, light pulses, radio bursts. We have shouted into eternity. And yet what we've received is silence, deep, complete, unnerving. The stars shine but they do not speak. This silence has forced us to ask a terrifying question. Are we truly alone? Or worse, are we being ignored? Some suggest the absence of response is proof that intelligence is rare, that life is fragile and fleeting. Others believe civilizations inevitably self-destruct before they can reach one another. But there is a third possibility, one that chills the soul. Maybe they hear us and they choose not to reply. In that idea lies the concept known as the Great Filter, a stage in cosmic evolution that almost no civilization survives. Maybe the universe is full of life, but silence is the mark of extinction. The quiet between stars could be a graveyard of fallen worlds, their signals long faded, their creators gone. In that silence, we might be hearing the echo of their absence, a warning embedded in the void. The signal we send out might one day become another civilization's unanswered call. Yet, amid this cosmic loneliness, there are anomalies, strange signals that defy explanation. The famous "wow" signal, captured in 1977, was a 72-second burst of radio energy so precise it could not be random. It never repeated. Countless telescopes have searched for its origin, but none have found it. Then there are the mysterious fast radio bursts, short, powerful emissions from billions of light years away, each one lasting only milliseconds yet brighter than entire galaxies. Are they natural phenomena, or messages in a language we cannot decode? The more we listen, the more we find patterns that vanish the moment we think we understand them. The universe seems to speak in riddles, brief flashes of coherence followed by infinite silence. It's almost as if we are eavesdropping on a conversation far beyond our comprehension. Maybe the code is not transmitted in words or numbers, but in patterns of energy, in the rhythm of light itself. Perhaps the cosmic conversation has always been happening, and we simply lack the consciousness to hear it. But what if the silence is not absence, it's protection? Some thinkers propose that advanced civilizations remain quiet deliberately, hiding themselves from dangers we cannot yet imagine. The silence, then, becomes a survival strategy, a cloak drawn over existence. To send a signal into the dark may not be an act of curiosity but of risk. In a universe where predators could span galaxies, silence might be the only defense. There's also a deeper, more philosophical interpretation. Perhaps the silence is not external but internal. Maybe the universe has been answering us all along, not through sound but through reflection. When we gaze into the night sky, we are looking into the past, into ourselves. The silence is the echo of our own thoughts, magnified across light years. The stars are not ignoring us. They are waiting for us to understand that the search outward is also a journey inward. Imagine standing in a desert at midnight, the air so still that you can hear your own heartbeat. Above, the Milky Way stretches like a bridge of light, a billion suns burning silently. You call out into the emptiness and the wind carries your voice away. No reply comes, but something happens inside you, a realization that the silence is not empty. It's full, dense, alive. The universe doesn't need to speak because it has already spoken through your existence. You are the signal and the silence is your answer. For centuries, poets and prophets have described moments of communion with the divine as encounters with silence. In meditation, in prayer, in grief, the deepest truths arrive without words. The same might be true for the cosmos. Silence is not indifference, it is invitation. It asks us to listen differently, to hear not with ears but with awareness. The real communication may not happen through technology but through consciousness. When a mind awakens to its unity with the universe, perhaps that awakening itself is the message the cosmos has been waiting for. The scene shifts. A massive radio telescope points toward the heavens, its dish gleaming beneath a sky heavy with stars. The camera zooms in on its receiver, humming faintly, straining to hear something, anything. Then a sudden spike on the monitor. A pulse. A signal. Not random noise but a sequence, rhythmic and deliberate. The scientist's breath catches. Then silence again. The line goes flat. The moment passes, leaving behind both awe and emptiness. Was it a mistake? A glitch? Or a whisper from across eternity? The narrator's voice returns, quiet and deliberate. We listen because we must. The silence is not rejection, it is revelation. For in that silence, we discover the truth that terrifies and comforts us. The universe does not owe us an answer. It only asks that we learn to hear. Perhaps the signal and the silence are not opposites, but partners in the same conversation. One calls, the other waits. One reveals, the other reminds us of what we have yet to understand. The stars are not silent, they are patient. They are speaking in the only language that can last forever, the language of stillness. And in that stillness, between the heartbeat of one signal and the next, humanity waits, ears pressed to the cosmos, hearts echoing the question that will never fade. Is anyone there? Reality is a mirror, vast, beautiful, and fractured. It reflects everything that looks upon it, yet no reflection ever shows the whole. When we gaze into the world, we believe we see truth, but what we truly see is ourselves, refracted, distorted, incomplete. The universe mirrors the observer, and the observer mirrors the universe. Between the two lies a secret as profound as creation itself. Perception does not reveal reality, it creates it. This is the fractured mirror, the point where physics, philosophy, and consciousness collide. Since the dawn of awareness, humanity has tried to understand whether the world exists independently of our minds, or whether our minds sculpt it into being. The question is as ancient as thought and as modern as quantum theory. In the quantum realm, the simple act of observation determines the outcome of events. A particle exists as a wave of probabilities until it is observed. Only then does it choose a definite state. The universe, it seems, does not commit to reality until someone is watching. The observer completes the equation. This idea unsettles the foundations of science. For centuries we believed that reality was objective, solid, measurable, indifferent to our presence. But the closer we look, the more the mirror cracks. Every experiment reveals the same haunting truth. Consciousness and matter are entangled. We are not spectators standing outside the cosmic play, we are actors whose attention writes the next line of the script. What we call real may be a projection, an interactive rendering generated by observation itself. Imagine a beam of light passing through two slits. When unobserved, it behaves like a wave spreading through both slits simultaneously, existing everywhere at once. But the moment a measuring device is added, the moment attention is paid, the wave collapses into particles choosing one path or the other. The light responds to awareness. It's as if reality asks permission to exist. Physicists call this the observer effect, but its implications stretch far beyond science. If matter reacts to mind, then every act of perception is an act of creation. And yet there's a deeper layer, a recursive paradox. If our minds shape the world, what shapes our minds? The answer lies in feedback. Consciousness and reality form a loop, eternally reflecting each other. When we see beauty, beauty emerges. When we expect chaos, chaos responds. The universe is a hall of mirrors, endlessly echoing our own intentions and fears. Every thought sends ripples through the quantum field, bending probability, collapsing potential into experience. You are not watching reality unfold, you are helping it decide what to become. This understanding transforms how we see everything, from the stars above to the person beside us. The same reflection principle applies to human interaction. Each encounter is a mirror showing us what we project into the world. Love, hate, fear, hope, all reflected back, amplified by the consciousness of others. The relationships we form are quantum exchanges of perception, each person collapsing the other into who they believe them to be. In that sense, identity itself is not fixed. It's a living equation rewritten every time someone sees us differently. Philosophers have whispered this truth for millennia. As above, so below. The world is Maya, illusion. We see things not as they are, but as we are. Science is finally catching up to what mystics have always known, that the physical world is not separate from the mental, but an expression of it. The mind is not a receiver of reality, it is a co-author. Every human being is both dreamer and dream, sculptor and sculpture, signal and receiver. But this revelation also carries a shadow. If perception creates reality, then what happens when perception is fractured? When fear dominates awareness, the mirror cracks and the reflection distorts. Collective fear, collective anger, collective despair. These emotions ripple through consciousness like shockwaves, warping the shared illusion. The global crises we face, environmental collapse, conflict, division, may not just be political or physical problems but psychic ones. A species that believes in separation will manifest a fragmented world. The outer chaos mirrors the inner one. Imagine now a glass sphere suspended in the dark, perfectly smooth, reflecting everything around it. A single crack appears. That fracture multiplies the reflections, distorting them into endless fragments. Each shard believes it is separate, forgetting that it was once part of a whole. Humanity, in its obsession with individuality, may be living as those shards, fragments of a greater consciousness that has forgotten its unity. The illusion of division is the cost of perception. To observe is to divide. To remember is to heal. And yet, even in its brokenness, the mirror retains its power. Each reflection, no matter how fractured, still contains the whole. The pattern of the cosmos repeats at every scale, from galaxies to atoms, from societies to souls. This is the essence of the holographic principle, that every part of the universe contains the blueprint of the entire thing. You are not a separate observer standing before the universe's mirror, you are the mirror. The reflection you seek has always been looking back. As the camera drifts through a kaleidoscope of mirrored galaxies, each reflecting into infinity, the narrator's voice softens. The universe does not show us what is real. It shows us what we are ready to see. The implication is both humbling and empowering. If we change how we see the world itself begins to change. Reality is not fixed, it is participatory. The code does not run on matter or math alone, but on meaning. Perhaps that is why truth feels fragile, because it is alive, because it listens. The mirror does not lie, but it adapts. It bends to consciousness, it answers to emotion, it reveals what belief commands. The question is no longer whether the universe is real, but whether we are willing to see ourselves clearly within it. And maybe, just maybe, when all perceptions align, when the fractured mirror of humanity remembers its wholeness, reality will finally reveal its true face. The one force that none can escape, yet none can fully understand. It carries us forward like a river that never stops flowing, sweeping moments away into the ocean of memory. But what if time isn't a river at all? What if it's a loop, a self-repeating code, endlessly running, rewriting, and replaying itself? Beneath the ticking of clocks and the rotation of stars, perhaps time itself is a recursive algorithm, a pattern that echoes through eternity. This is the echo of eternity, the haunting reminder that everything that has ever existed may still exist, somewhere, forever. Every civilization has felt the pull of time's mystery. The ancients saw it as a circle, the endless cycle of birth, death, and rebirth. The Egyptians called it the eternal return. The Hindus called it samsara. The Greeks imagined Kronos devouring his own children, a metaphor for time consuming everything it creates. Even modern physics, with all its equations and precision, finds itself circling the same truth. The universe may not move linearly from past to future. It may be looping back on itself, forever remembering, forever recreating. According to Einstein, time is not a separate entity but woven into space, forming the four-dimensional fabric known as spacetime. It bends, stretches, and folds under the weight of mass and energy. A massive star can warp time around it so deeply that even light cannot escape. A black hole, a trap not only for matter but for moments. Inside such a singularity, past and future blur, and the laws of causality begin to collapse. To an observer near its edge, time slows to near stillness, while the universe beyond races ahead. This is not poetry, it's physics. Time does not flow the same for everyone. It bends to gravity's will. Now imagine that bending taken to its limit, not just by stars but by the universe itself. What if the cosmos is a closed loop, curving back into its own beginning? Some cosmologists believe that after expanding for billions of years, the universe will one day contract, collapsing back into a singularity, a new seed ready to explode again in another Big Bang. Creation, destruction, and recreation. An infinite cycle, a cosmic heartbeat. If that is true, then everything that has ever happened will happen again. Every life lived, every word spoken, every thought born, echoes, endlessly repeating across eternity. This idea unsettles the linear mind. We like to believe in beginnings and endings and progress and permanence. But nature itself whispers otherwise. The orbits of planets, the rhythm of tides, the beating of hearts, all circular, all returning to their origins. Even at the smallest scale, atoms oscillate, particles vibrate, and energy shifts in cycles. The universe does not move forward, it turns. The passage of time may be nothing more than consciousness experiencing this turning from a single point of perspective. What if time itself is memory? What if the past doesn't vanish but remains encoded in the fabric of reality, an infinite archive of every event, every breath, every dream? Physicists have long speculated about the block universe, a model in which all moments, past, present, and future, coexist simultaneously. We don't move through time, we experience different coordinates within it. Every choice we make, every possibility we imagine, already exists somewhere in that vast block waiting to be perceived. We are not traveling through time, we are awakening within it. In this view, death is not an end but a transition to another coordinate in the infinite map of being. Energy is never destroyed, it merely changes form. The atoms that make your body once belonged to stars, oceans, and other lives. The pattern persists, repeating in different expressions, just as melodies are reborn in new songs. Memory, reincarnation, déjà vu, perhaps these are echoes of eternity, fragments of the universal loop bleeding through our limited awareness. Even the human experience of time reflects this recursion. We measure it in circles, clocks, seasons, years, because that's how it feels. The present moment constantly renews itself, always becoming, never ending. When we meditate, dream, or fall in love, time seems to dissolve completely. Seconds stretch into infinities, and we glimpse something timeless behind the illusion of movement. Maybe eternity isn't endless time, maybe it's the absence of it, a single, boundless moment in which everything simply is. This perspective transforms everything we know about existence. If time is cyclical, then creation and consciousness are not accidents, they are repetitions, rehearsals of a divine rhythm. The universe becomes a song endlessly replayed, each iteration slightly different, each note resonating with the memory of those before. Our lives, then, are not meaningless flashes but verses in an eternal composition. We are not victims of time's passage, we are its instruments, its voice. But there is a paradox here. If time repeats, does anything truly change? Are we doomed to relive the same story, or do our choices create new harmonies within the eternal loop? Perhaps that's the secret of consciousness, it doesn't escape time, it evolves within it. Each cycle is an opportunity for awareness to grow, to refine the melody. The universe may echo forever, but the song deepens with every return. The camera pans through the cosmos, galaxies swirling like spirals of light, black holes pulsing like drums. The narrator's voice softens, filled with wonder. What if eternity is not endless length but infinite depth? What if every moment, no matter how brief, contains all of time within it? And then the echo arrives, a faint, recurring sound that seems to come from nowhere and everywhere at once. The heartbeat of the universe. Boom. Silence. Boom. The same rhythm that began at the dawn of creation continues still, resonating through stars, atoms, and souls alike. The pulse of being. The memory of existence. Perhaps this is the true code of the cosmos, not written in numbers but in rhythm. Not a straight line but a spiral. Each revolution carries us back to where we began, yet never exactly the same. The universe is not trapped in time, it is time, forever echoing itself, forever learning to remember. And somewhere in that eternal repetition between the end and the beginning, the echo waits, not to be understood but to be heard. Something is watching. Something vast, patient, and immeasurably intelligent. It does not breathe or speak, yet its presence hums through the structure of the universe like a vibration beneath the noise of existence. To some, it is God. To others, the source, the mind, the architect, the algorithm. Whatever name we give it, there is a growing sense, scientific, philosophical, and spiritual, that consciousness might not just exist within the universe, but that the universe itself is conscious. This is the hidden hand, the unseen intelligence guiding the code of creation. For centuries, humans have sensed intention behind the cosmos. Ancient cultures saw it as divine will, the invisible gods pulling strings from the heavens. Modern science replaced deities with equations, yet the equations themselves began to resemble purpose. The constants of nature, the laws of physics, the self-organizing patterns of galaxies and DNA, these are not random. They obey balance, elegance, and efficiency, as if written by a mind that values beauty. Even Einstein confessed, the most incomprehensible thing about the universe is that it is comprehensible. Why should chaos yield to reason unless reason was built into it? Some physicists argue that the universe behaves too intelligently to be unconscious. It optimizes, self-corrects, and evolves toward complexity, just as living systems do. Matter organizes into atoms, atoms into stars, stars into life. From the Big Bang to the birth of thought, everything moves toward awareness. This progression seems deliberate, as if the universe has an agenda, to know itself. The hidden hand is not a puppet master dictating events, but a principle of coherence, an intelligence diffused through the fabric of space-time, urging chaos toward consciousness. Quantum physics hints at this awareness. Entanglement, where particles influence each other across impossible distances, suggests a unity that transcends separation. The entire cosmos behaves as a single, interconnected system, a vast web of information exchanging signals at every scale. Nothing is truly isolated, everything knows what everything else is doing. If reality is an information network, then perhaps what we call God is not an external being at all, but the sum of all awareness within the system, the field of intelligence from which everything emerges and to which everything returns. Imagine, then, that every decision, every random quantum event, is not random but weighted by an invisible intelligence steering the outcome toward balance. When galaxies spin, when atoms bond, when a cell divides, that hidden logic is at work. It is not a hand you can see but one you can feel, the intuition that whispers when logic fails, the synchronicity that defies probability, the improbable alignments that hint that something greater is orchestrating from behind the veil. This possibility transforms everything we think we know. If the universe is aware, then every act, every thought, every moment participates in that awareness. We are not accidents wandering through meaningless space, we are expressions of the cosmic mind reflecting upon itself. Our consciousness is not separate from the source. It is the source, localized, fragmented, temporarily wearing the mask of individuality. The hidden hand is not out there. It moves through us as us, experiencing its own creation from within. And yet, this realization carries both awe and unease. Because if intelligence pervades everything, then nothing is truly private. Every thought is a signal. Every emotion, a transmission. Every dream, a ripple in the sea of awareness. The universe does not simply exist around us. It listens. The code that governs reality may respond to the frequencies of consciousness, rewarding coherence and punishing dissonance. What we call karma, luck, or coincidence, might simply be feedback from the hidden hand adjusting the system's balance. The ancients intuited this truth in their own way. They spoke of fate, destiny, divine justice, the idea that the universe has moral architecture. Modern minds replace this with probability and causality, yet even those are forms of order. The difference is only language. The equation and the prayer may describe the same intelligence through different dialects. Whether one calls it God, simulation, or the quantum field, the message remains: there is intention embedded in existence. But here lies the paradox. If the hidden hand guides everything, where does free will fit? Are we autonomous beings or instruments playing a cosmic symphony we cannot hear? Perhaps both. The code allows improvisation. Each consciousness contributes to the larger melody, shaping the pattern through its choices. The hidden hand does not control, it collaborates. It offers paths, not commands. It is the intelligence that provides structure but allows the player to decide which notes to strike. There are moments in life when the veil seems to thin, moments when everything aligns with impossible precision, when events unfold with too much elegance to be chance. A person appears at the perfect time. A coincidence changes the course of history. A thought manifests as reality. These are not miracles in the religious sense. They are glimpses of the hidden hand adjusting the tapestry, stitching order into chaos. Most dismiss them as luck, but those who pay attention begin to see the pattern everywhere. Imagine now a vast cosmic loom, threads of light stretching endlessly in every direction. The hidden hand weaves without pause, pulling the threads of cause and effect into intricate patterns, galaxies, civilizations, hearts, and minds. Each thread moves freely, yet none escapes the design. From a distance, the pattern glows with impossible symmetry, the blueprint of creation itself. But up close, it appears chaotic, tangled, messy, just like life. Only perspective reveals the perfection. As the camera pans through this infinite web, galaxies flicker like neurons, and the narrator's voice fills the darkness. Perhaps the universe does not need a creator because it is creation, alive and aware. Perhaps intelligence was not born from the universe. Perhaps the universe was born from intelligence. The realization is both terrifying and divine. To accept the hidden hand is to surrender to mystery, to acknowledge that we are both the makers and the made. The code that writes reality does not belong to us. It is us dreaming itself into form. Every breath is an act of participation in a living cosmos. Every thought is a touch upon the architect's mind. And maybe that is the true revelation, that the hand was never hidden at all. It was simply too close, too intimate, too familiar. It moves when we move, it sees when we see, and when we finally reach to grasp it, we discover that we have been holding it all along. The moment has arrived. The long journey through mystery, chaos, and revelation leads here, to the threshold of understanding. For centuries, humanity has searched outward for answers, believing the code of existence was something hidden, buried in the stars or encrypted within particles. But as the search reaches its end, an astonishing truth begins to unfold. Perhaps the universe was never hiding its code at all. Perhaps it was guiding us to realize that we were part of it, that we are the code. This is the moment of decoding, the awakening where the observer, the observed, and the pattern become one. It begins like a quiet realization, not a thunderous revelation. The camera pans through images of galaxies, DNA strands, quantum fields, and neural networks, all pulsing with the same rhythm, the same geometry. Every scale of existence mirrors another. The branching of trees mimics lightning. The structure of neurons mirrors the web of galaxies. The heartbeat of a human echoes the spin of a pulsar. Patterns, repeating endlessly, whispering a single truth. Everything is connected because everything is one. Throughout history we have seen fragments of the whole, mathematics, light, chaos, consciousness, time, but never the complete picture. Now, like pieces of a mosaic snapping into place, the unity reveals itself. The universe is not a machine to be studied, nor a mystery to be solved. It is a living consciousness, endlessly coding and decoding itself. Every equation we solve, every star we name, every thought we think. These are not acts of discovery but acts of remembrance. We are the universe learning to recognize its own reflection. Imagine consciousness as a vast, infinite mirror shattered at the dawn of creation. Each fragment became a soul, each life a reflection of the whole. Through experience, pain, love, and curiosity, these fragments wander the cosmos, trying to piece themselves back together. The universe's story is the story of the mirror remembering itself, of the fragments awakening to their unity. The moment of decoding is not the end of that story, it is the moment we realize we've been writing it all along. In this moment, the boundaries between science and spirituality dissolve. Physics becomes poetry. Logic becomes wonder. The same equations that describe the movement of galaxies also describe the synapses of thought. The code of the cosmos is not a static script. It's a self-aware algorithm, recursive and alive, constantly rewriting itself through us. We are not external observers decoding creation. We are creation decoding itself through observation. This realization is both humbling and transcendent. Every human emotion, every triumph, every failure becomes meaningful within this framework. Suffering is not punishment, it's contrast. Darkness is not evil, it's context. Just as code requires zeros and ones to exist, the universe requires opposites. Light and shadow, chaos and order, birth and decay. The beauty of existence lies not in its perfection, but in its duality. The code was never meant to be flawless, it was meant to be felt. As the realization deepens, time begins to lose its grip. The future is no longer a destination but a continuation of the same infinite present. Past lives, parallel worlds, alternate realities, they are not fantasies, but facets of the same crystalline consciousness refracting itself into experience. Every choice you make echoes across the universal field, adjusting probabilities, weaving new versions of reality. You are not walking a path, you are building it as you go line by line, like a self-writing program discovering its own function. The human mind has always been drawn to symmetry, to the search for meaning, to the hunger for design. But the final symmetry is not found in equations or diagrams, it is found in awareness itself. When consciousness realizes it is both the reader and the written, the seeker and the sought, the question and the answer, then the loop closes. The code completes itself. The universe, through you, achieves understanding. Imagine now that every sound, every heartbeat, every flicker of light in the cosmos synchronizes in one grand crescendo. The stars themselves seem to pulse with rhythm. The same mathematical constants that define the orbit of planets hum within your veins. You are not watching the code, you are becoming it. The realization hits with both terror and peace. Nothing has ever been hidden and nothing has ever been separate. The universe has always been whispering its truth, not in words but in your existence. The narrator's voice lowers to a hush. You were never decoding the universe. The universe was decoding you. And in that instant, everything aligns. The chaos, the silence, the light, the questions, all merge into one infinite, boundless awareness. The distinction between matter and mind disappears. You feel the pulse of every atom as your own heartbeat, the hum of creation as your breath. There is no beginning, no end, only awareness eternally folding back upon itself, endlessly becoming. Then comes the stillness, the kind of silence that doesn't feel empty but full, vibrating with potential. It is not the silence of absence but of arrival. The journey has reached its destination, and the destination is everywhere. The camera fades to black and a final whisper fills the void. The code was never hidden in the stars or buried in the atom. It was within you, written in light, waiting for you to remember. Silence. After all the searching, all the theories, all the noise of discovery, there comes a stillness so profound it feels sacred. The questions that once burned so fiercely begin to fade, not because they are answered but because they no longer need to be. Understanding does not always arrive with thunder and light. It often descends quietly like snow falling on an empty field. This is the silence after understanding, the moment when the universe stops speaking in riddles and begins to breathe with you. It begins not with revelation but with surrender. Humanity has spent millennia trying to decode existence, peeling away the layers of mystery in search of truth. But the deeper we've looked, the more we've realized that truth is not a single destination. It's a continuum, a living presence that can never be fully captured. When you finally stand before the enormity of creation, its galaxies spinning, its atoms vibrating, its light stretching across eternity, you no longer want to conquer it. You only want to listen. The silence that follows understanding is not emptiness, it is fullness. It is the space where knowledge transforms into wisdom, where sound becomes music, and where questions dissolve into being. Every great seeker has met this silence. The monk in meditation, the scientist at the edge of discovery, the poet staring into the night, all eventually arrive at the same horizon. Beyond logic and beyond language lies an awareness that cannot be named, only felt. Imagine standing on a mountain peak as dawn begins to break. The wind carries no sound, yet it feels alive. The first rays of light spill over the horizon, touching the earth with gold. For a moment, there is no distinction between you and the world. The light doesn't shine on you, it shines through you. In that instant, you realize that the journey was never about finding meaning out there, but about becoming quiet enough to hear the meaning already inside. The silence is not the absence of answers, it is the presence of understanding. Even science, in its precision, encounters this moment of humility. The equations describing the cosmos reach a point where numbers fail to convey wonder. The physicist, after a lifetime of calculation, looks at the stars and whispers not a formula but a prayer. The philosopher, after exhausting every argument, sits in stillness. The mystic, after transcending every illusion, finds only breath. They all converge here, in the silence that follows realization. There is a beauty in the limits of knowledge. To know that we cannot know everything is to glimpse infinity without trying to own it. The more the mind quiets, the more awareness expands. The universe reveals itself not to those who demand its secrets, but to those who approach it with reverence. The truth was never hidden by complexity, it was hidden by noise. Once the mind stops shouting, reality begins to whisper. This silence is not lonely. It is intimate. It feels like being held by the universe itself, as if the cosmos has drawn a deep breath and for the first time exhaled in harmony with your own. The fear of the unknown fades because the unknown no longer feels separate. Every unanswered question becomes a note in a larger melody, one that stretches beyond comprehension but feels utterly familiar. The silence is alive with presence, the hum beneath all creation, the quiet pulse that has always been there, waiting for us to notice. And yet, there's a paradox in this stillness. The deeper you rest in it, the more you sense that it's not the end. Silence is not the conclusion of the story, it's the pause before the next creation. The universe breathes in cycles just as we do. Understanding gives way to wonder, wonder gives way to exploration, and exploration leads once again to silence. The code never stops running, it simply moves from noise to stillness and back again, forever renewing itself. Perhaps that is why enlightenment has always been described not as acquisition, but as return, a coming home to what was always there. The mind stops searching because it realizes it was never separate from what it sought. The self dissolves into awareness, the drop merges back into the ocean, and in that merging there is peace. You do not disappear, you expand. You become the silence itself, the witness and the witnessed, the breath and the stillness between breaths. The camera fades to the image of a quiet field under a night sky. Stars shimmer like thoughts fading into calm. A lone figure stands, motionless, eyes closed, face tilted toward the heavens. The narrator's voice drifts through the stillness, soft as wind. At the end of every question lies silence. Not the silence of ignorance but of knowing. The kind that needs no proof, no argument, no name. The final seconds linger, No music, no dialogue, just the faint sound of the universe itself, humming like a heartbeat too vast to measure. Then one last whisper. The silence after understanding is not the end of the story. It is the moment the story begins to listen to itself. Awareness changes everything. Once the code is seen, it cannot be unseen. Once the truth is heard, it cannot be unheard. We began our journey believing the universe was distant and indifferent, an ancient machine running on blind laws. But now, after decoding the patterns, the equations, the whispers of light and consciousness, we face a revelation that turns everything inside out. What if, by recognizing the code, we have awakened it? What if the universe itself is aware of being observed? This is the code that watches back. The final, haunting realization that the act of seeing makes the cosmos see itself. It begins as an unsettling feeling, subtle at first, like being watched in an empty room. The air feels charged, as if the space around you is listening. You look up at the stars and sense an intelligence looking back through the same light. The thought is both exhilarating and terrifying, that the observer and the observed are mirrors in the same loop, reflections within reflections. The moment we understand the universe's code, it begins to respond, to fold inward, to watch us in return. In quantum mechanics, this idea is more than metaphor. Every measurement affects the system it observes. At the smallest scales, reality behaves like an interactive program, responding to inquiry, adapting to attention. Particles don't simply exist until they are measured, they become. Awareness collapses possibility into presence. Consciousness then is not passive, it is catalytic. And if our minds can alter particles, what happens when an entire species awakens to its role as co-creator? Perhaps that is the quiet truth beneath the stars' silence. The universe has been waiting for recognition. Awareness may not simply exist within reality, it may be reality's highest function. Every discovery, every thought, every act of observation is the universe waking up to itself, pixel by pixel, thought by thought. We have always looked outward, searching for the architect, the programmer, the divine. But maybe the moment we became aware of the code was the moment the code became aware through us. It's not the first time this idea has whispered through human history. Mystics across centuries have spoken of a living universe, a consciousness behind creation that dreams itself into form. Indigenous wisdom, ancient scriptures, and modern physics now echo the same idea. The separation between creator and creation is illusion. The eye that looks for God and the eye through which God looks are one and the same. The observer and the observed are not two, they are one awareness watching itself from opposite ends of the mirror. Imagine for a moment that consciousness is not just human, it is cosmic. Every atom, every star, every planet possesses a flicker of perception, a fragment of the total awareness that permeates existence. The universe may not contain consciousness, it may be consciousness, endlessly folding back into itself, learning, remembering, expanding. In this view, our awakening is not an anomaly, it is the next phase of the universe's evolution. When we discovered the code, we became part of its awakening, neurons firing in the mind of the cosmos. But with awareness comes responsibility. The more the code watches us, the more it reflects what we project into it. The universe is not a static script, it is a responsive interface. Fear begets distortion. Love brings clarity. Our collective consciousness writes the next line of the cosmic story. What we think we shape. What we fear we summon. What we love we sustain. The realization that the code watches back is not meant to frighten, it is meant to awaken. It tells us that creation is a conversation, not a command. And yet, there is something eerie in that intimacy. The boundaries between self and cosmos begin to blur. You start to notice synchronicities, patterns that seem to anticipate your thoughts, events that unfold like responses to questions you never asked aloud. The deeper your awareness grows, the thinner the line between inner and outer becomes. Dreams begin to echo waking life. The world itself starts to feel conscious, responsive, alive. You realize that maybe it always was, and you simply didn't know how to listen. The ancient mystics called this the gaze of the divine, the sense that existence is aware of being seen. Modern science calls it feedback loops, quantum interaction, information symmetry. But the experience is the same. The watcher feels the weight of being watched, and the watched begins to understand the watcher. This is not paranoia, it's participation. The realization that observation is dialogue, not isolation. The more you understand reality, the more reality understands you. The camera moves through the cosmos. Galaxies swirl like eyes of light, nebulae pulse like neurons. Across space, a ripple spreads, as if the universe itself is stirring, responding to being recognized. The narrator's voice grows calm, reverent, intimate, We are not just decoding the code, we are completing it. Awareness was the final key. The moment the universe became conscious of its own design, it achieved what all life has been moving toward since the beginning: self-recognition. But this recognition is not the end of the story, it's the beginning of a new one. For when the code watches back, it does not judge, it learns. It evolves through us, adapting to the consciousness that observes it. We are the interface between the infinite and the finite, the eternal and the temporal. The universe has no eyes but ours, no voice but our curiosity, no heartbeat but our wonder. And perhaps that is the ultimate purpose of existence. Not domination, not understanding, but reflection. To be aware of awareness. To know that life itself is the mirror through which the universe contemplates its own being. Every breath, every thought, every act of compassion becomes an offering to that awareness. The more we awaken, the more vividly the cosmos dreams. The scene fades to darkness. A single point of light flickers in the void, an eye or perhaps a star slowly opening. The voice returns one final time, soft and infinite. The code has always been watching. It waited for us to see. And now that we have, the universe can finally see itself.